Oh, I really want to take this with me. I really hope this works. My name is Denise. I'm also known as Hey Wig Sister on Instagram and Facebook. I'm so glad you're here today because we are going to learn something together. I have a wig on my head that is way too tight for me and I'm really struggling. I want to take this wig on a trip that my husband and I are taking. We are going on our very first solo vacation for our 15th wedding anniversary, and we're going someplace really hot, and I'm going to need a little bit of help in the wig department for the hot weather that we're facing. And this wig I think is going to be perfect. I think she's darling and I think she's going to be great, but I really am having a hard time wearing this one comfortably because it is so tight. And we're going to try a couple of techniques that I've been told work well to loosen up a wig cap that's too tight. I'm also going to talk to you specifically if you are a brand new wig wearer, because there is something you should be aware of before you attempt to do any modification to your wigs. Are we game? Let's get started. All right, before we get to modifying the wig on my head, I have a message for you if you are a new wig wearer. One of the biggest challenges that we face when we first start on this journey is not knowing what to expect. We don't know how a wig is supposed to feel when it fits us well. We don't know where to place the wig. How do we know if we're wearing it correctly? All of those things are truly overwhelming, especially if you come to wigs due to hair loss, because I like to say we come kicking and screaming to wigs when it's because of hair loss, because that's generally not our first choice. I do think it's a little bit easier if you're coming voluntarily because you're curious or you're tired of your own hair. Maybe you want to give your hair a break from coloring and processing. But if you are struggling right now, I have an encouragement for you. Before you make any of the changes to your wig that we're going to talk about, I want you to promise that you will give wearing the wig a real try. I'll give you some tips as to when maybe that won't be appropriate, but let me tell you quickly about my experience. So when I first started wearing wigs in 2018, I was working full-time outside the home. I was off and gone for 10 plus hours a day. So I would have a wig on my head for over 10 hours a day. Talk about feet to the fire and getting used to having a wig on your head. I didn't know if the wigs were uncomfortable because they were too small for me. Generally, that's what I thought was going on, but knowing what I know now, that wasn't the case. These wigs were not too small for me. I just wasn't used to the sensation of having something on my head all the time. Even if you are used to wearing hats, because I wore baseball caps all the time. When I wasn't working, I was wearing a baseball cap because my hair loss was so terrible. But wigs do not feel the same as a hat. And so I think you may be thinking that a wig is too small for you when really all you need is time to get used to the sensation. Another thing I experienced in the beginning of my journey was I used to describe it as I thought the wig was going to slingshot off my head and I would feel as though it was sliding up in the back. I don't experience that sensation anymore. My head, while it has shrunk a little bit with weight loss, the back of my head hasn't appreciably changed. So it wasn't that the wigs were riding up. It was that I wasn't used to the sensation of a wig even slightly shifting around on my head. A solution for that is, again, wearing your wig for a little while to get used to it, but also a wig grip is a great tool because it helps to grip the cap a little bit and it reduces that sensation of the wig sliding around. I'll put a few videos in the description box below if you need some ideas for wig grips. There are tons of them out there. They're not all created equal and it may take some trial and error before you find a wig grip that will work for you. I didn't think I liked wig grips in the beginning because I only tried a couple of cheap Amazon wig grips. Now I always wear a wig grip underneath my wig. It's because I found what works for me. So don't give up. This whole journey is an experiment in the beginning. Okay, step one in fixing a wig that is too tight for you. Wear it. Wig caps will stretch out some over time. And it can be hard to know if the wig is truly too tight or if it just needs a little bit of time because it's brand new. So there's never been any tension put on the circumference. There's never been any tension put on the adjusters. And so they're brand new and they may need to just be loosened up a little bit. So wearing the wig around the house or out and about periodically may be all you need to do to help that wig fit you more comfortably. I have had wigs in the past that I thought were a little tight, but after wearing them a little bit, I realized I wasn't noticing the tightness anymore. Now, of course, if the wig is giving you an excruciating headache, if it feels as though it's cutting off your circulation and it's just so uncomfortable that you cannot wear it for more than 10 minutes, then you can move on to the next step in this process. But if you can tolerate the tightness, I really encourage you to give it a little bit of time, because the next step is to actually cut these adjusters, and that's really hard to go back from. Now, you can sew them back on, you can take a tuck in the wig cap if you have sewing skills. So there are some things that you can do if you cut the adjusters and that's a bit too much, but it may not be necessary. So don't automatically assume that a wig is too small for you if you just put it on your head and you feel like it's tight. Be really honest with yourself about whether or not you can tolerate wearing it for a while to see if it will stretch out. I promise you, some wigs will stretch out enough that that's all you have to do. But if not, now we're going to cut the adjusters. Now, there are different types of adjusters on different wigs. This wig right here, which I haven't even named, this is Zoe from Rene of Paris. I will link my review below as well as where you can purchase this wig. But this is what's considered a bra strap adjuster. So we have got, see how that's the pull adjuster, sort of like what's on a bra strap? One of the challenges with adjusters like this is you can't just release them completely like you can with a Velcro adjuster. So if this had Velcro adjusters, then you could just kind of take that Velcro off and maybe even kind of tuck it underneath the wig for the time being just to see how that will work for you. You can't do that with these. So really your only option is to cut the adjuster so that it's not on there anymore. I would recommend cutting only one adjuster first. I would not recommend cutting them both at once because you don't want to overdo it. And once you lose that tension on the wig, it's going to be very difficult to wear. So I am going to just cut one adjuster. And you can do a couple of things. If you think you might have to sew the adjuster back on, you can cut it in a way that will allow you to do that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut it right where it connects to the little metal adjuster thing. I don't know what that's called, but I'm going to leave that on there for now just to see how this will work. If it feels fine once I cut it off, then I can completely remove that adjuster by cutting right here to get rid of the plastic part and then cutting all the way up at the cap so this doesn't hang loose, if that makes sense. So I'm going to give myself an out to be able to potentially tighten it up again if I need to by just trimming it right. 1, 2, 3. Here it is. It's loose. So let me throw her on. One risk, oh, that's actually better. It's not 100%, but it's definitely better. I feel very confident in cutting the rest of that adjuster off. Honestly, that may actually be all I would have needed to do. We'll still talk about some of the other options that you have in case that isn't enough, but you would be amazed. Even though I have these adjusters all the way to the end, they are not cinched in at all. They are still creating tension. So now I'm just going to cut that loose one off because I don't want to take the chance that it works its way out of the base of the cap and then is hanging out where people can see it, especially on a short wig like this. Something I should have mentioned earlier that I didn't. This video is really addressing when it's really tight around your circumference. If you are struggling with a wig being too small ear to ear, and you'll know that because of where it falls on the side. This wig fits me great ear to ear because the ear tabs are a little bit in front of my ear and a little bit below the top of my ear. And when I have ear tabs there, it gives me great coverage so that you can't really see my bio hair a whole lot. Because I do have some bio hair that I keep that I don't buzz, I like to blend this with my wigs. Looks like the lighting on my camera is not doing so hot today. Hopefully this is still fine. And I can use root touch-up powder to blend if it doesn't blend with the color. But if you don't have any bio hair, or you do not want your bio hair to show, then the ear-to-ear coverage is going to be really important. I'm not addressing that coverage in this video. This is only if a wig is too tight around your circumference. That's what these techniques will help with. So I'm gonna cut this other adjuster out and just pray that I don't regret it. And I'm gonna do like I did the first time. I'm just gonna cut the very end off. All right, moment of truth. Oh yeah, that was the right move. It is so much more comfortable this way. It really is so much more comfortable this way. Let's talk about another option if cutting the adjusters either didn't work or you don't want to go that far. There is something else that you can do that may work. All right, cutting the adjusters is a little bit too scary, and wearing the wig for long periods of time is impossible. You could try stretching out the cap by putting it on a blockhead like this. Now, these do come in sizes, and it is recommended that you purchase a size that is smaller than your circumference for your regular wigs, because you don't want to stretch out the cap on those. When I first started wearing wigs, my circumference was 22 inches. I hadn't seen somebody mention that you should get one smaller than your circumference until I read Jason Archer's book, Wig Life, which I'll link in the description box below. So this is the mannequin head that I had purchased on Amazon, and it's 22 inches. I thought, well, perfect, because I'm 22 inches. Well, after I read his book, I purchased this mannequin head, which is 21 inches, which is smaller than my 21¼ circumference. Again, the whole reason for doing that is you don't want it too big and then to stretch out your wig cap. Except when your wig cap is too small and you do want to stretch out your wig cap. And so I went and grabbed my 22 inch, which I had stored away. I've got this tripod that I keep my mannequin heads on, and these are these canvas block heads on, and these are fantastic for styling wigs, for trimming up wigs. These are great for both synthetic and human hair wigs, and these techniques that I'm going through today will work on both synthetic and human hair. But I do want to give you guys a caution. This wig that I'm demonstrating on is a basic cap wig, otherwise known as a machine-made cap. It does not have any lace, no lace front, no monofilament. So I can put it on this mannequin head with confidence that I'm not going to ruin those delicate features, because my goal is to put this on a mannequin head that's smaller than it is and let it sit for a little while, and hopefully it will stretch out. If you have a lace front, you could stretch out that lace as well. It is a little bit trickier to do. I know people have done it, and you can search how to stretch out a wig cap, how to enlarge a wig cap. There's tons of keywords that you can use to try to find videos to help you with that, but just beware that it does get trickier the more cap features that you have on your wig. So the next step would be to get the wig cap wet. So it is recommended that you get the wig cap wet. You can spray it with a water bottle. You can run it under cool water. You can dunk it in a sink full of cool water, and then sort of towel dry it just a little bit so it's not sopping wet. And then when it's a little bit damp, then you can stick it on the mannequin head and let it dry. If you don't want to get this wet, you can put a grocery bag over it, a plastic bag of some sort, and just let it sit there and dry and see if that will stretch it out for you. If you don't have a mannequin head big enough for this, you could take a towel or something and put it over that mannequin head to give it a little bit more bulk. And then you could put your wig over that. Let me find the back of it. So the back is the more prominent bump on it, and it's also where, at least on the ones I have, where the size is. It's on the back. But then you can, that's going to add a little bit more bulk to it, and then you can stick your wig over that. And again, remember, this is a basic cap. If you've got other types of wigs, I don't know if this will work for you. I don't know if I would try it. So that's another topic for another day. I'm so sorry if you're here with lace front wigs that you need some tips on. I would start with wearing it on your head. I would start with cutting the adjusters. And then if you do need to stick it on a mannequin head, maybe just get the cap a little damp and don't put it on one extremely large compared to what you're working with. Now, of course, there is always the option to return the wig or to try to resell it in one of the resale groups out there. There's tons of them on Facebook. You can always go to eBay. I actually have a document that I have titled The Ultimate Wig Resource, and I have a tab, it's actually a spreadsheet, for resale market options. So if you have wigs that are just sitting around and you're hoping to be able to maybe recoup some of your money, you could try to resell them. I also have a tab for donations, companies that accept donations of wigs, and so those could be some options. So I understand this isn't necessarily the only option that you have if a wig is too tight on your head, but in the case that you can't return it or you really love the wig and you'd like to try to make it work, then you could try some of these options and see if they will help you. I am going to wear this wig and see if just wearing it is going to be enough to stretch it out just the tiny bit more that I think it needs. And also, perception is not insignificant here. I have a pretty average petite head. Most wigs, especially in the name brands, major name brands like Rene of Paris or, John Renault and Noriko and Raquel Welch, Ellen Villa, all of those, most of those are a little big on me. It's very rare that I come across a wig like this that's so tight on my head that I've got to do wig surgery to it. So when a wig fits me snugly, it's actually more uncomfortable for me because I'm not used to it. I am used to wigs being loose. So that is another thing to consider, is if it's tight, is it because you're not used to wigs fitting you tight? That doesn't mean you shouldn't fix it, but it could mean that all you need is some time to get used to the sensation. Even if you are an experienced wig wearer, there are going to be times you're going to put a wig on your head that's different than you've been used to wearing, and it's going to feel different, and it may take a little bit of an adjustment period. All the things that we have to go through as a wig wearer, and it's a learning curve. Hopefully this has given you some ideas, but it's also helped you realize that you aren't stuck with your wigs as they come. I talk all the time about making a wig your own, trimming it, thinning it, adding lift to the front with either steam or a hot tool, depending on the fibers. And modifying the wig cap is another way that you can make a wig your own. And once you have the skills, you have the skills. It's probably overwhelming because a lot of these things you've never done before, but that doesn't mean that you can't do them. And I believe that you're capable. And hopefully the next time you run into this, you'll have tucked it in the back of your head and you'll know what to do. Let me know if you have questions. And if you have done something to make a wig your own, leave it in the comments. Help a wig sister out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.
Hey friends, thanks so much for watching. Here are a few videos I think you might enjoy. Go ahead and click on one and watch.